Alrighty. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Eugene. This is a Wendesday Reads book review video. Now this week I read a book called To Mars and Other Short Stories by Hana Aianhanma, and I apologize if I am butchering your name. This book is a collection of science fiction stories talking about, golly, where do I start? Okay, so the science fiction stories start with journeys to Mars. They have things like two dogs who are slightly cybernetic who are learning to think logically. She's got things about opening wormholes to another galaxy or planet, things about virtual reality. So it's basically the whole spectrum of science fiction minus perhaps space opera. I'd say perhaps minus space opera. So this collection was very interesting in that it was so varied. I don't often read collections that go that whole spectrum of science fiction. It's either, you're focusing on one main thing or it's something sort of cross-genre. So this stayed within the science fiction genre, and it also kind of explored the spectrum, which was very interesting. There was a touch of fantasy in there. There were a couple of fantasy pieces. One about cooking griffin wings, which was a little bit frightening, honestly, that recipe. And the other one was about a dragon. Actually, there were two stories about the same dragon, just at different points. So that was very interesting that it incorporated that extra aspect of fantasy while still exploring all of the science fiction options out there, minus space opera. So I think that was very interesting. I like the fact that it was very broad in its exploration. However, I got a little bit confused as to what was happening most of the time. Now, you have to understand, I don't often read collections of short stories. I often read full-length novels that explore sort of one theme. So that made this very interesting because it was a completely different medium from what I normally get. And you also have to understand something else. Short stories follow a completely different structure than do full-length novels. So you get very little in the way of character development. The plot is very much left hanging 90% of the time, and there are details that you're not going to get fleshed out. So that being said, the parts that I didn't understand would probably have been explained if it were a full-length novel. I think I need to shift my mindset a little bit more. If you are used to short stories, definitely give this a go. I'd say it definitely follows the short story guidelines. It follows everything very well. It is a good example of a collection of short stories. However, there were a few other pieces that I think kind of detracted a little bit from this collection, and that mostly was to do with dialogue tags. Now, this collection of stories, throughout the stories, did not have much in the way of dialogue tags. However, there were often multiple speakers. Hi, dear. However, there were often multiple speakers and things that definitely needed to be explained via dialogue. So the fact that this author didn't use all that many dialogue tags made it very confusing trying to follow who was speaking and what was going on. I had to go back several times and sort of count the tags and figure out, okay, who's doing what and what's going on here. Is this a continuation of the previous speaker? Is this something else? I think that was probably the most confusing part, apart from the fact that some of the information that you would likely get in a novel-length piece as opposed to a short story wasn't there. Really? You're not helping. Anyways, so on the whole, as a collection of short stories, I think this works out very well. I think this explores a lot within the science fiction genre. Of the stories, I think the ones involving Furface were my favorite. if you're curious, that one, well, those ones, there's multiple ones involving Furface, are a collection of stories involving sort of a colonization experiment gone wrong based on wormhole travel. Yes, I know that's vague, but if I give away any more, it will be terrible spoilers, and we wouldn't want that. So I think those are probably my favorite. I think overall, I think they were good for being short science fiction stories. Honestly, in the science fiction genre, short stories tend to be way cool, and they tend to explore kind of the extremes, the limits that you don't often see in novels. Because you don't have to explain everything. So that was something. I do think the dialogue tag situation probably detracted a little bit from this work, but it was an interesting collection. I definitely need to get out and read more short stories, honestly. That's all I've got for you this week. If you are interested in learning more about this collection, please see all the links in the description box below. As usual, I will put all of the links to the book there. You can find the author's social media. You can find me on social media. You can find me on my website. I just updated my website with a store where you can actually buy my books, which are coming out in just about a month. Oh, so exciting. Anyways, so you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're interested in seeing more of these videos, please do subscribe. I'm hoping to do some really cool things in the future with this channel, so I hope to see you there. Otherwise, short stories for the win, and science fiction for the win, because I love sci-fi, honestly. So that's all I've got for you today. I will see you next time. Bye. She's so cute. Yeah, okay.